Okay, so this one's overdue for a while. I'm sorry, it's later than I said it was going to be because it was supposed to be like last Friday, and I've just been sleeping a lot. So that's basically what happened. I was just really tired from work and like I guess was just crashing. Sometimes my busy schedule catches up with me. But anyway, we got from the GI Joe classified line, we got Tiger Force Recondo. And I'm very excited about this because Recondo is one of my favorite characters. I never had the Tiger Force version when I was a kid because it came with the God, what do they call that one? It was the Tiger Force version of the Tiger or the Dragonfly. I think it was called the Tiger Fly because they were clever like that. So, but yeah, for whatever reason, they decided to pack Recondo with it instead of Wild Bill, who came with the original Dragonfly. And I suspect it was because the Wild Bill mold wasn't available to them at that particular time. I know they recovered it later because they used it over in India. The Fun School company used it. Uh, so at some point they found Wild Bill again, but they probably didn't have access to him at the time they were putting out Tiger Force. So they're like, screw it. Wild Bill's got a hat and a mustache. Recondo's got a hat and a mustache. I don't think these dumb kids are going to know the difference. I knew the difference. Recondo's not a helicopter pilot. He's a jungle trooper. But whatever. I guess he could still fly a helicopter. I mean, on the cartoon, they had Gung Ho flying sky strikers. It makes as much sense as anything else. So, got some nice artwork over here on the front. So there's that. He's got the huge handlebar mustache. We know him as having this nice Apocalypse Now looking background down here, and he does look an awful lot like Jesse Ventura because a lot of people associate Recondo with the Jesse Ventura character in Predator, since they both had the same hat and they both had a big mustache. So a lot of kids grow up with, "Ooh, dude, it's Recondo. Jesse Ventura is playing Recondo." And then on the back we got the cool background that we had on the other Tiger Force figures. So let's go ahead and open him up. I have this piece of paper that I always ignore. And slide the little plastic tray out of here. There we go. So somebody is watching. Cool. So as I always say in these live streams, this isn't necessarily supposed to be a live stream where you have to chat along or anything like that. So don't feel like you have to. You can if you want. That's always welcome. But if you would like to catch these from the beginning, make sure that you like and subscribe and hit the little bell and all that fun stuff down below. So right now it's like where I'm at, it's about 4 o'clock in the morning, so I wasn't really expecting anybody to I went and had lunch with a friend earlier today and had a really great time hanging out and catching up with him. I hadn't seen him in several years. That's my friend Eric Michael Black. So shout out to him. He happens to catch this. Had a blast with you today. So it was very cool seeing you. So there we go. And last but not least, there's the figure. We'll get that out, and then we'll take a look at all these cool accessories he comes with. And I just want to say straight out that I really like this head sculpt, which has a lot of character to it. He is not what you would call a handsome man, but to me, he shouldn't be. He's this mean-looking dude with a handlebar mustache, and he's got like a mullet, and I think that actually works really well for this character because he spends most of his time just kind of hanging out in the jungle and doing jungle things. Probably doesn't have a whole lot of time to get to the barber and get a regulation haircut. So they are special forces characters after all. So it's not exactly like a that they're not as exactly beholden to the dress code as like regular army troopers would be. So, but man, that's a great head sculpt. It's got a lot of character to it. It looks kind of like a cross between Sam Elliott in Tombstone and Kurt Russell also in Tombstone. It's kind of like halfway between those two guys. but not as handsome as either one of those men. He's got like just this ugly look on his face, like this ugly expression on his face. He does not look like a happy camper. So I like that. That to me perfectly fits Recondo, who, you know, he's one of my favorite characters, but I don't think of him as being a nice guy. You know what I mean? So, so yeah, and there's the big old kukri knife, which is an accessory that I really like. So, readers of the original 1897 novel of Dracula will recall that this was one of the weapons that killed Dracula at the end. Is that as Quincy Harker was plunging his big old Bowie knife into Count Dracula's heart, Jonathan Harker simultaneously slit his throat with his kukri knife, and that was the end of Count Dracula. So I always like seeing that accessory come with figures, just because of its history with one of my favorite books. So and then we got a handgun, fairly simple, fairly small for a handgun. I would have thought rather than an automatic, he would be a character that it would be good to have come with a revolver instead, like a big old Magnum or something. But it's a nice looking gun, so I'm not gonna complain about it. And then unfortunately, you can see that my rifle got a little bent in the package. So, but I think a little bit of heat will straighten it out just fine. It's just the barrel's a little warped. So I'm not incredibly worried about that. And then we have a backpack, which doesn't look like a bad backpack, and it does look fairly detailed, but it seems a little simple for a Recondo backpack. I think they probably could have done a little bit more with this, if I'm being honest. Like, I remember one of the more distinctive features about the original Recondo backpack is it actually had a frame built onto it, so it had like part of the frame kind of looped up over there, so you could have the figure, if you fit it carefully enough in his hand. You don't want to break his thumbs, but you could have him actually carry the backpack by that loop up at the top. But this doesn't have any kind of framework on the back. It looks like it's just a plain old backpack. So let's have a look at Recondo himself. And this is a great sculpt of Recondo, but of course it is colored in his Tiger Force color scheme, which means he has a black shirt and dark green pants with some yellow stripes on it. Whereas the original Recondo had like an all khaki uniform with a khaki shirt and then khaki pants with green camo on the legs. So it's not the iconic look of Recondo, much like with the bazooka figure that I reviewed last week. But I do feel like it is, while not the iconic look, it's still a good look for him. And if this is the only Recondo figure I wound up getting, I think I'd still be pretty happy with him. So, but we're not getting the full effect. We need to put the hat on him. He's got to have his hat. Now, the original Tiger Force Recondo came with the hat, like the original Recondo figure. It was actually glued on to the head, not meant to be removed. But this one is a removable hat, and you can see that it is indeed a very dark navy blue, whereas the original Tiger Force Recondo, the hat was a much brighter blue, more like the color that Wild Bill came with. How about that? So again, with the Wild Bill stuff. So, but yeah, so this is, though, a much darker and more muted shade of blue, and if one didn't look too closely at it, I think one could be forgiven for thinking it was actually a black hat. But no, it's a dark blue hat. So I gotta figure at some point Hasbro is planning on, like they did with Outback, how there's like an homage to the version 1 Outback coming out. At some point, they're gonna re-release Bazooka and Recondo in their original colors. But even if they didn't, I think I'd be pretty satisfied with this Recondo. I think this would be a good figure to be my Recondo if I was never able to get him in the original colors. But I still hope to get him in the original colors. So yeah, so the kukri knife fits very nicely into this holster. the irregular shape of the blade is accounted for because you can see that like it actually has like a little bit of a slit at the side of the holster, so it does fit in there quite nicely. Because of the slit, it's a little bit looser. You can kind of wobble it back and forth than your typical GI Joe knife in the sheath, but it does seem to stay in there fairly solidly. I'm not going to worry about that falling out. So next, we can go ahead and put his pistol into the holster on his chest, like so. That fits in there very nicely. I think I might try to get a revolver that fits in there because, like I said, I kind of feel like he's more a revolver kind of guy. But you can see that this is one of those where like the holster is solid at the bottom, so I'd probably have to. If I got a revolver that's the size of a revolver I'm thinking of, I'd probably have to cut a little hole at the bottom of the holster. But you know, that's when you customize things, you're customizing things. That's just all there is to it. So you know, you might have to adjust this and that. So you're using it for something other than its intended purpose. And last but not least, we got this rifle that he comes with, and it does look to me a lot like the original rifle that came with Recondo. Now, I made my own 3 3/4 inch Recondo figure using parts from Marauder Gunrunners, and you know I love their stuff. And they had a rifle that looked pretty much like the one the original Recondo came with. I believe it was based on the same real life rifle that the Recondo rifle was based off of, but since it wasn't specifically supposed to be Recondo's rifle, it was just supposed to be that type. It did not have the tape and everything wrapped around it, like the wrappings that he had around his rifle. And I haven't gotten around to trying to replicate those on that 3 3/4 inch figure yet. But they made sure to include them on this Hasbro figure, so good on them. So I'm wondering if this clip's removable. It probably is. I keep knocking his hat off, so I'm just going to set that down. I don't lose his hat. And it seems like if the clip is removable, it's in there very solidly, and I'm not going to try to take it out because I don't. If it is just in there, like glued in there or molded in there, I don't want to mess it up. And besides, like I said, oftentimes those clips fall out on me, so I'm just not going to complain. So let's put the backpack on so we can get the full effect. And if one wanted to, one could probably fit the rifle into his other hand here. The hand should be just soft enough you can do that, but it is pretty firm, like how the Hasbro hands usually are. But oh, hey, look there! If I just bend his thumb up a little bit, then I can fit it in there in a two-handed grip. So there you go. But I think for now, I'm just gonna kind of pose him like that, and I'm gonna put the hat back on him. So this hat, it doesn't seem to stay on there as well as I would like. I'm pretty sure I do have it facing the right way. So it does seem to be like a little bit more firm than the plastic on the hats usually is. Usually it's like a little bit more rubbery than what this is. And that might be part of it. So hopefully that's a problem they can correct if they reissue them as like the version 1 colors. So that having been said, I really like this figure. I think it turned out very nicely. It's definitely worth picking up if you're collecting these G.I. Joe classified figures. I think Recondo is a character that's beloved by most people that collected the original line. And sure enough, like if you're like me and you have fond memories of that original figure, you're going to want to have Recondo in this line. Even if you didn't have the Tiger Force figure as a kid, like this is still a pretty cool version of Recondo. It's like an alternate color scheme, I think. So it's definitely worth picking up. You know, some of the Tiger Force color schemes could get a little wacky. You know, they more leaned into the tiger thing in like a more literal way, where you had the characters like the Tiger Force version of Lifeline, who actually had like a yellow jacket with tiger stripes on it. But then you had the ones that were a little more subtle, and those were the ones I tended to like more. But so far, they've done Duke that comes with a repainted Tiger Force Ram cycle, which I would like to get, but I haven't found it yet. They've done Outback, which is probably my favorite of these figures so far. They've done Bazooka, and they've done Recondo, which, to the best of my memory, if you're going to reproduce the original Tiger Force line, you would have to have Tiger Force versions of, in addition to the characters they've already made, you would have to do, at least for the American ones. I'm not going to count all the foreign variants, and Outback was a foreign variant. But you would have to have Clint, you would have to have Tripwire, you would have to have Lifeline, you would have to have Dusty, which they just put out a Dusty figure, so they could easily do a repaint of him already. Who else was in Tiger Force? Roadblock, and they already have the the '83 Roadblock in I think they call it a heavy artillery Roadblock. There's a review of it on this channel. You can go back and watch it. So some of those figures they already have and could very easily repaint it like they did with Duke. Some of those other figures I think are iconic enough characters, like say a lot of people remember Lifeline, a lot of people remember well, now I can't remember. Yeah, a lot of people can remember Lifeline. A lot of people can remember Tripwire. Those are ones I think would fit well into the classified line anyway. So I would recommend that they probably go ahead and do those figures, and then they can round out with the repaints of figures they already have and the ones they've already made. They can round out the American Tiger Force line, and then maybe if they get into it, I'm sure they'll do Tunnel Rat at some point. They could do a Tiger Force Tunnel Rat. I don't know if they'd want to bother with say Psych Out, but I wouldn't mind having a Tiger Force Psych Out, even though that one's kind of a wild color scheme. A lot of blue in the European Tiger Force figures for whatever reason. Blue not necessarily being a color that I associate very much with tigers, so it's kind of an odd choice to be their unifying color scheme. So anyway, that's pretty much it for Recondo. He definitely gets a recommend. You should definitely pick him up. He's very cool. And that's pretty much it. We'll talk to you next time. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe and all the fun YouTube stuff down below. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about this figure. And we'll talk to you next time. Bye. Yeah, end the broadcast. I already told you. Why are we not ending the broadcast? There we go.